You are not alone. You may think you're alone, but you're not alone. There are so many other people around wanting to be a part of your recovery. I know that because I'm working on at least 3 groups every Saturday and Sunday with lifering.org. It's an organization online, and I usually work with 15, 20 people on each group. So there you go. That's a lot of people. I mean, 3 groups, 15, 20 people, that's quite a bit of people who are wanting to recover. Now, sometimes it's drugs, sometimes it's alcohol, sometimes it's gambling, sometimes it's shopping, sometimes it's overeating. It doesn't really matter what it is. It's an addiction, and it is nothing more than a symptom. The addiction is not the problem. The past trauma is the problem. That's the reason that you just don't get it, and most people don't get it. If you want some other doctor, person in front of their name, look up Dr. Gabor, Gabor Mate. He has worked for 30, 40, 50 years of his lifetime in Ontario with people with severe addiction, so much addiction that they have to be helped because they can't be out laying on the street because they have no homes, because they're so far into their addiction, they've progressed so far. And he tells them the same exact thing. The addiction is not the problem. The symptom, it's a symptom. The problem is that you had trauma. Now, for most people, the trauma had to come from childhood. Something in childhood, something occurred in childhood. There's a vast range of things that can occur in childhood. We all know that. People have a wide range of childhood experiences. And sometimes those experiences are not enough food, not enough attention, but in general, it's not enough attention. In general. It can also be physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse. I mean, there are so many different things that kids can put up with. Not having a home, being homeless. I mean, it goes on and on and on. But that is the problem. And why is that the problem? Well, it's very easy to understand if you've gone all the way as far as I have in studying education. And so that's why I'm here today. I want to share that with you. What is the problem? What happened? Well, when you go to school and you take a course, let's say the course is biology. So you have a pretty good idea what you're going to learn. You're going to learn about frogs and bugs and plants and trees and so, right? Okay, but that's because you're old enough to know the course title, where to be, what you're learning, all that, right? That is not the case when you're a child. When you are an infant, immediately you begin to sense things around you. You don't remember them, but you sense things around you. You cry when you're hungry. You cry when you're wet. You're quiet and you sleep when you're content. When there's noise, you cry. When it's quiet, you sleep, you rest. It takes a lot to become an adult. It takes years. But the first year, day that you're born, up to the 5th year, usually you're in one place, home. Where that home might be could be a zillion different places. But you're in a place with certain sounds, sights, things to see, things to hear, touch, taste, smell. All those things are going on. And all those senses within you are being activated by what your body and mind are learning is normal. That's your normal. That's your problem. That's your problem. Does this make sense to you now? If you were not nurtured, that's trauma. If you were not fed, that's trauma. If you were not kept clean, that's trauma. If you didn't have a house, that's trauma. If you lived with an alcoholic, that's trauma. If you were sexually abused, that's trauma. If you were moved all over the United States for 8 years, that was me. That's trauma. If you didn't have contact with grandparents, that's trauma. If you didn't have cousins or aunts or uncles or long-term friendships, that's trauma. I know, because that's what happened to me. Okay? So we have all kinds of different trauma. I also lived with an alcoholic. I know what it's like to live most of your days with an alcoholic. It sucks. It's also hard to be a caregiver from the age of 5. I had to do that. That sucks. You may find yourself in the same Cinderella kind of situation. That also is trauma. So when you have trauma, that's the problem, as a child, before you become, it doesn't have to be your family. It could be your cousin, it could be your uncle, it could be your next door neighbor, it could be your teacher, it could be the school you're sent to. I mean, there are so many things that can create trauma. You got it? Trauma early in life never leaves, because that becomes normal. That's your normal. And when you grow up and you go out in the world and you discover that other people did not have that trauma, and they may not expect you to drink, they might expect you to use drugs, they may not expect you to find some way to reduce your pain. Aha! So that is the symptom? Right, because the other was the problem. The drugs, the alcohol, the smoking, the shopping, the gambling, whatever, workaholic, whatever your addiction is, that is a symptom of the problem. The old problem, the problem that is behind you, that occurred during the time that you were doing the vast majority of your learning. And so, what does that end up doing? It becomes your normal. So, I remember there was a young man I knew, and his partner was an absolute flake. I mean, she was just off the charts nuts. And he said to me once, you know, she's a little hard to get along with. And I said, well, yeah. I was spending summer with her, and so I had to agree with him because I was working with her every day. And he said, but so was my mother. They are both bipolar, and so it doesn't seem unusual to me. I said, so the reason you're with her is that she has the same behaviors as your mother had when you were a kid. Yep, that's it. So you don't think it's unusual in your day-to-day activities, but when it comes to somebody else asking you what's going on, you can see that there's a difference in how she acts and how other people act. Right. And that doesn't bother you. No, because that's how I was raised. That made so much sense to me. It was so obvious at that point that the problem was his mother. The symptom was that he decided to hook up with someone with the same type of mental illness as his mother. No different than hooking up with alcoholics. That's what I did. So there, what do you think? You sit there and you fret and you stew and you try to carry on and figure out why you did what you did. Well, you did it because that was your normal. Okay? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean if there's no man in your life, no father figure, that you're going to become gay. No, that doesn't work that way. That's not the same kind of thing. So don't take this too literally, okay? You've got to recognize that what it was the behavior of the people toward you, especially toward you, that ended up manifesting you to think that was normal. So just because one or other parent is missing in life, that's where I talk about the ACE, ACE. That's a childhood test of things like, was one of your parents incarcerated or was one of your parents an alcoholic? Check that video out, and that'll make more sense to you. And as far as your gender or your preference with sexual partners, usually that is caused by something entirely different that I'd have to cover in a whole other video. So, thank you for being here. If you'd like to leave a message, leave it down here. If you want to play the game, just add a like and a subscribe. And if you want to talk to me, you can come to my school. It'll be at the end of the video. Thank you.